Meeting calls to order. Today is Tuesday, November 20th. It is now 7:18 p.m. Town Council meeting in the Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Councilman Licciardi?
Here.
Councilwoman Williamson? Here. Councilman Messier?
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
There is a quorum. 17th Tree City USA presentation.
Jackie? Jackie here? Oh.
Okay, hello, good evening. My name is Caroline Scanlon. I'm the new Urban and Community Forestry Program Coordinator at Rhode Island DEM, Division of Forest Environment, and I'm here tonight to present the town of West Warwick with the 17th consecutive Tree City USA Award. So I know that there are some new council people here tonight, so I just want to give a little bit of background about the program. Tree City USA is run by the National Arbor Day Foundation. It's a countrywide recognition program that provides the framework for community forestry management for cities and towns across America. So in order for a community to be eligible to be a Tree City USA, it needs to meet 4 core criteria every year. The first of which is maintaining a tree board or department, which is legally responsible for the management of community trees. The second criteria is having a community tree ordinance to provide guidance for planting, maintaining, and removal of trees on public property. The third criteria is spending at least $2 per capita every year on a community forestry program. And then the fourth criteria is the celebration and public proclamation of an Arbor Day. And I want to acknowledge the JCs of West Warwick for organizing the yearly Ecology Day and Peace Prayer ceremony. So to date, there are over 3,400 Tree City USA communities, which serve more than 135 million Americans. So West Warwick joins those communities. So the program promotes the best management of community forests and promotes public engagement and stewardship of community trees, and of course promotes the connection between municipalities and the state forestry department. So I just wanted to say congratulations again to the town of West Warwick and the West Warwick JCs and all who have worked towards receiving this recognition of Tree City USA. And I want to say thank you on behalf of the Division of Forest Environment for all of your continued efforts in the stewardship of this important community resource. So I want to invite Jack and Ronnie and the West Warwick JCs up to take a photograph with the banner that we have.
Good evening to everybody.
Good evening.
Congratulations, everyone that went through a campaign.
Hold it back here? Oh, you want to hold it up in the front?
I've asked Laura Barlow. She is Miss Elite Rhode Island. She represented the town of West Warwick and our JC group at the official Arbor Day ceremony at Jameel Park in Warren, Rhode Island, when the DEM Forestry Management presented the awards to all of the qualifying communities. So, Kenny, do a little
I want a photo of him. Jay, you're on the social media right now. Come on over, Jay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Again, the amount of work that goes into this yearly for the JCs, they keep us on the map for Tree City, so thank you for all your time and dedication.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Just right there, real quick.
Thank you.
You have to ignite.
Thank you once again. Thank you. Thank you.
Kent County Water Authority Annual Report presentation by Robert Boyer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to congratulate the members on their election wins, and I'm sure we'll move forward and West Warwick will move ahead. I also, on behalf of the Kent County Water Authority, I want to wish you a good and happy Thanksgiving. You have some brochures I handed out to you. We'll get into that a little later. First of all, I want to make you aware of who the members of the Kent County Water Authority are. Along with myself representing West Warwick is Frank Giorgio. You all remember Frank. He served as a zoning board chairman for at least 10 years that I know of, and he's very familiar with the town. The representative from East Greenwich is Peter Masterson. He's not here tonight, but Peter is probably the longest member attached with Kent County Water. He's dealt in building and real estate. Representing Warwick is Joe Gallucci, who's been in politics and deals with people. He's also the treasurer of Kent County Water. Along with him is Jeff Giusti, who's in the water irrigation business. So we've got quite a spectrum. In Coventry, we have Russ Crossman. He's been on the planning board in Coventry for a while as the chairman. And we also have Scott Duckworth, who's in the construction business. He manufactures in Quonset, he manufactures roof trusses. So those are our members. There's 7. Recently, the General Assembly added 2 members to the Kent County Water Board. The Water Board has 5 key people. Mr. Tim Brown is the chief engineer and general manager. Dave Simmons is an engineer, and he's in charge of the treatment facility that we have. Mike Lanfredi, there's Mike, and there's Dave Simmons. That's Frank Giorgio, you all know. Mike Lanfredi is our Director of Administration and Finance. He's a money man. We also have Richard Burns, who's the Director of Operations. He's hands-on with all the outside help. And John DeShano is our Director of Technical Services. All projects are sent to John first. He reviews them, and we go from there. Now, Tim Brown, our chief engineer, took over Kent County Water in 1988. The authority was not in the best of shape at the time. He immediately demanded that all materials, piping, valves, whatever, would be American made, which was a big thing. We started to replace transite pipe, which is AC pipe, with ductile iron, which is a tremendous move, and we still are replacing it. It's a very brittle pipe. It breaks, and constantly a little vibration or whatever, and it will break, and we have to replace it. Tim has taken I always say he took a water company that was in shambles and has brought it back unbelievable. He runs a no-nonsense operation. I've enjoyed being on this board. I've learned quite a bit myself. And we have, believe it or not, we have 558 roads in West Warwick, streets, okay? We have paved from curb to curb. Tim can give you the figures. I mean miles of pavement, and it hasn't cost the taxpayer a single penny. Naturally, we replaced water lines that were constricted. You could have a line that's a 6-inch line. It could be only 2 inches in diameter with all the tuberculin. So we've accomplished quite a bit, and we're all proud of it. Excuse me. I think we still have a lot to do. There's a lot of pipe to be replaced, but I want you to be aware of one thing, and it's very, very important. Naturally, we cannot survive without water. And I'm going to shock you what I'm going to tell you next, that we do not receive a copper penny from the federal government, the state of Rhode Island, or any other organizations. We operate from the money that we collect. We sell water, and that's how we operate. We float bonds. We're highly regulated by the PUC. Okay, it's quite a battle because we have to emphasize conservation. It's like a double sword to us. We're telling you, be careful with the use of water, and yet the water we spend we use to do other things. But all in all, it works out pretty good. I guess what I'll do at this time is turn you over to Tim, and if you have any questions regarding the brochures, and he'll explain some of the charts we have up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. I can't present an annual report without talking about some of our programs, and I'm going to be brief. I could speak for a very long period of time, and actually do like to speak for a long period of time, but I'm not going to do that. And the reason is that over 50% of our budget goes into our capital programs, whether they be infrastructure or the CIP, and there are differences to those. We have a budget of about $22 million a year. We have a payroll budget of about $2.2 to $2.3 million a year. And 50% of that 22, almost $12 million, goes into a capital program, whether it be debt service and or pay-as-you-go cash. So it's important that I discuss a few of those, and that's what you'll see in some of the charts, and of course you have reduced versions in the little packet. I've given you a little annual summary on one page of about a 50-page audit that we do each and every year. By state law, we have to present this in January of the following year to the cities and councils of Warwick, East Greenwich, West Warwick, and Coventry, the original 4 founding members of the Kent County Water Authority, which purchased 3 previous companies that date back to 1886. We were formed in 1946, purchased those companies through a bond issue in 1951, and went from there to grow to from 7,000 customers to about 27,000 customers today, or about 88, almost 90,000 people we service. We are the first regional water authority in the state, and have been since 1946. We're proud of that, and we're proud of the fact that we've been turning a good annual report over to the communities as long as I have been there and prior to that time. There have been no material weaknesses found. The financial statements are in order. There are no material misstatements. And this past year, fiscal year ending June 30th, our total net position was $9,600,000. which is necessary for our restricted funds. Our current assets decreased by $141,000, and our liabilities by $1,006,000. And that increase in capital assets of $8 million. We booked over $8 million this past year in capital assets due to our infrastructure and capital programs. That increases, of course, the value of the company, but it's also integral into the requirements of state law for replacement of infrastructure that was created in the mid-1990s by act of the state legislature and signed into law. Long-term obligations, we only have two. A remainder of a 2012 bond issue, about $9.8 million, and a fairly new, shorter-term borrowing in 2017, which now has $10 million left on the books. That was a note we took out to do about $11 million worth of infrastructure programs quicker than spreading them out over time. And there was a reason for that, because they were grouped into areas that we wanted to finish and not go back into those areas. And most of them, by the way, are in West Warwick. And just finishing up construction in one of those areas, hopefully with final paving shortly when the weather cooperates. One of the items we had to do during that whole period of time was try to get bond ratings, since we hadn't been in the market since 1950. During the 1990s, we started looking at that. We were warned not to go into the bond market until we had done certain things. We'd get junk bond status. And once we entered the market, each and every year we've worked to increase our ratings. Since we sell revenue bonds, not general obligation bonds, we need the revenue prior to us selling those bonds in order to pay them. And we're really pleased with our ratings, both from Moody's and Standard & Poor's, with a AA rating. And I've included copies of those that you can look at in the write-ups of that. And we've just recently got an upgrade from one of them. It's a AA- and AA3, depending on the rating agency. We're really proud of those. We don't insure our bonds anymore because of those ratings. We used to originally. Pension plan, we have 69 current employees. It seems to be an issue with most communities. It isn't with us. We're about 87% funded. We had a rate of return of 8.09%, about 8.1% for the last fiscal year. We do have, like everyone else does, other post-employee benefits, and that, because of the new GASB requirements, is put on the books of the company. We have about $4.9 million in debt liability for that OPEB. We also created most recently a trust fund to offset that in future years. The one beauty of the authority is that that's not a contract obligation. Our OPEB benefits right now are pay-as-you-go, about $80,000 per year. In accordance with GASB, you have to accumulate that over 35 years or so forth. So it gives you about $4.9 million, but the authority could end that any time and eliminate that obligation if they chose to. So that is a plus for us, even though we have to show it on the books of the company. We have no pending contingencies for fiscal 2018. We also received a step increase in January of 2018 in our rate case, and I will speak about rate cases in a few minutes because I know that's always asked at these meetings. And I do want to give you a little history of how we adjust our rates and why we adjust our rates. The bottom of that page on that short annual report summary, we have a restricted accounts. They're restricted either by the Division of Public Utilities and Carriers or bond documents. As a regulated utility, they control our purse strings. We don't. They give us a certain amount of money in certain categories which we can spend for those categories as we have provided them. And the only way we can raise money through user fees is, of course, through a rate case. And a rate case in itself, for us, takes about 12 months. It takes 9 months from the date of filing. We have a 30-day window, and then the commission usually suspends rates for 8 months. So it takes us about a year to do a rate case and to have it heard. It actually is a little more difficult than raising taxes by communities because we end up with only 3 people voting on it in the end. We're pleased with the way the commission has handled it, but they do put a number of restrictions on us as far as how those money can be spent and how we have to report on those. I think it's a good thing because I think it gives a lot of transparency to our expenditures. One, when we file our rate case, but also on a yearly basis when we file our annual reports with them as well. It's a different annual report than what we're filing with the communities. The next few pages deal with the infrastructure and the capital improvement program, which again makes up over 50% of our budget. It just talks about how much we're doing each and every year within our system. And some of the maps that you see in some of the photographs indicate that. In particular, this distribution map, which you have in your package, is West Warwick and West Warwick alone. We have approximately 123 miles of water main in West Warwick. And of that, over the last 2 decades, we've replaced 31 miles of that, about 25%. That mostly is infrastructure. There is some capital in that. And the difference between the two is infrastructure by state law is renewal and replacement only. We can renew or we can replace existing water mains, not produce or install new ones, or any other type of infrastructure that's new that isn't there already. That's where our capital funding comes in. And we split the two. Capital has always been bonded. IFR has always been as a pay-as-you-go until most recently. We've switched that a little bit with the most recent rate case. Now we're on a pay-as-you-go capital program and a pay-as-you-go infrastructure program. We are trying to get out of the bonds right at the moment because of the expense, even though we sold bonds for just over 2% recently. We are going to try very hard to lessen our program, do more on a cash basis, and to continue the program of at least replacement of, in approximately 50 years, all of our infrastructure. That's the intent of the infrastructure program. And then that program is to continue for the next 50 years and onward forever, replacing infrastructure as it gets old. One of the concerns we had initially when we started these programs and trying to comply with state law is we've had infrastructure that's over 100 years old in the ground. And it's a little bit older now, still in the ground. Some of it is in very good condition, others is very poor condition. Some is substandard in size, some is encrusted, some is not. But it's hard to believe that some of the piping that we have replaced is actually newer than that because of its failure rates. It just doesn't last as long as the original cast iron piping. So we take that into consideration when we develop our programs and our infrastructure programs as to which ones we should replace. Usually when we run into 2 or 3 breaks on a street, we try to replace that street with new water main when the next infrastructure program goes on, only because of the expense, the inconvenience it is to the customers, and of course the damage it does to the roads. We also instituted many years ago doing curb-to-curb restoration with the caveat that we leave the existing temporary pavement in place so it can settle through the winter. We drag a leveling course, and then we do an 1.5-inch overlay with curb reveal grinding up to 6 feet. It seems to work very well. The only time we run into a few problems with that is when there's pavement is extremely thick or there's a lot of cracking in the road. In other words, there was no subbase initially. Cracking will reflect through to the new pavement. We then offer the communities, if they have sufficient funds, to pay for the overlay if they want to rebuild the roads. We provide them the cash for that. And that's always out there if communities want to rebuild roads. And we just happen to be installing or replacing water mains on that street. Daily, of course, we're into operation and maintenance. We have field crews, one that read meters, that repair water mains, and we also have night crews. We run 24 hours a day most of the time, so that if we do run into a break or some type of an inconvenience, a system breakdown, we have staff available. That's what we do each and every day. Some of our active programs, which we just finished up, we do a flushing program semi-annually. All of our operators have to be certified, both as treatment and distribution. We do training on that, and licensing has to be renewed every 3 years. My licensing is a 4 and a 3, which is what our licensing for our facilities are right now. Safety program, safety is always important to everybody, including communities. Hydrant maintenance and repair, which I'm going to go over in a minute, concerning our rate case, because that's always a question. We're doing a curb box maintenance, sanitary surveys, leak detection, and so on. It goes on each and every year. What we will be starting, and we're actually opening the RFPs next week, is a system-wide meter changeout program. One of the reasons for slowing down our capital infrastructure program is that we're going to be putting $6.6 million of our resources into a meter changeout program. Our meters are over 20 years old. By Division of Public Utility regulations, they either all have to be tested or we have to replace them. Technology has gone leaps and bounds, so we're moving towards the radio frequency, reading those on a quarterly basis with radio devices, so they will be changed out over the next 2 years. Again, we haven't picked a vendor. We're opening that next week, and everyone's going to be noticed very shortly about this program. But that is a large program for us. We've done it once before in the 90s, and now we have to do it again. We also been looking at our facilities. Our location, which is just down the street or up the street, depending on your direction, was the original Warwick and Coventry Water Company, which was one of the predecessor companies we purchased in 1946 with the bond monies. It's a very old facility. We think it dates back to the 1800s. We're not really sure. We do know it was a roller skating rink at one time. We also know it was a shoelace factory at one time. And I've heard it was an armory in World War I, but I'm not sure of that. But we've outgrown that many, many years ago. It's a difficult challenge for us to try to raise the funds to move to another facility, but that is in the offing. We absolutely have to do something with that facility. That's something that will come out of our capital and infrastructure programs down the road. Some of the appendices that I've attached will give you an idea of how big West Warwick is. We have 8,314 active customers. We have 128 that are inactive. Mostly those are the homes that are not occupied at the present time. Service has been shut off for non-payment. Most of them are abandoned. You also have 666 public hydrants and 34 private hydrants. A few pages of the Moody's and Standard & Poor's. Appendix 3 is a little map of our current infrastructure program ongoing. Some of it is under construction, some of it is pending funding, and some of it is going out to bid this winter for construction. And I believe that might be the larger map in front of me. The map I just mentioned to you earlier, about 25% of the roads that we've replaced already in West Warwick. The red or dotted dashed is part of our future infrastructure that's already designed, but again, we're waiting for funding to be accumulated. We've listed all of the streets that we have worked on in West Warwick. All are partial. Some we've done all of them, some we've done part of them. But you'll get an idea of where we have been and how much we have done in our infrastructure programming and part of our capital programming. Appendix 6, 5 and 6 are backwards, they're a little reversed, is actually a nutshell of our system. This is our system in whole. Graphically, with flows, tankage, pumpage. I've got it. We're a very large system, about 457 miles of pipe. We have multiple pressure gradients. The problem with Kent County, since we service from the coast up to about 430 feet, is hills, valleys, and the terrain. It's required us over the last 20 to 30 years to look at pressure gradient changes. We have too little pressure or we have too much pressure. Just because there's a water line in front of a piece of property doesn't mean there's sufficient pressure to serve. It depends on the gradient. In some roads we have two pressure gradients, and it's all based on elevation. And we've been changing a little bit our philosophy of how we're operating the system from tanks to pumps over the years. So you're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years changes in how we operate the system, mostly mechanically versus by gravity, only because it's more advantageous to us to do it today with variable frequency drives. But we are a complicated system. It is not as simple as people think it is. And that complexity costs money. So we are somewhat of an expensive system because of that. But we can't properly service, and again, we have guidelines, actually regulations from the division, of where we can service and the pressures we can service. Since we are a district of the boundaries of Kent County, we can service that. We do service a little into Providence County, a little into Washington County, because no one else can service it, but not much. But the problem with our system, and has been for many, many years, is trying to balance the pressure with our regulations. We've been doing a pretty good job of, we got a little more to do on it, but just to let everyone know that we are a very complex system, and we have multiple pressure gradients throughout that, which is either done by pressure reduction or pressure increases with pumping and storage tank elevations. Okay, Bob. Something that we're real proud of that we put online a few years ago is a new treatment facility. We decided many years ago to become a little more self-sufficient. We were depending a little heavily on Providence and Warwick, which was also Providence water. So we opted to look at our well fields. Quality issues forced us a little bit to do that. We also opted to become self-sufficient just in case we lost a source of water. So that new treatment facility, which is Coventry and West Greenwich area, can produce about 2.1 million gallons out of our existing well field. We just put online a new well system in East Greenwich, which is on the border to Warwick. That's operational. That is scheduled somewhere in the future for a treatment facility as well. If we lost Providence and Warwick, we feel that we can probably produce 4 to 4.5 million gallons a day, which is about half of our average day right now. So we think we could produce life-sustaining water if we had to, if we lost our major sources. It was a goal of the authority to become more self-sufficient, and I think those goals are slowly becoming to fruition as we approach the design of those other treatment facilities. We've also bought, probably about 500 acres of land for future well fields and protection of our existing well field. We've also shut down water tanks because they just haven't been efficient for our needs, or water quality issues have required us to do that. The last, it's Appendix 5 in your package, just gives you basically an eyeball view of our whole system. All the different colorations on that are the pressure gradients that I was just talking about. All of that adds up to a $22 million budget for us each and every year. Back to rate case issues right now. A few years ago, state legislature looked at the Kent County Water Authority, since they created us. By an act of the state legislature, our designation is 3916 of the state statute. That's our enabling legislation, that's actually our bylaws, and that's our governing documents that we utilize. They have looked at us as to why we were having issues with water supply. In the end of those hearings, they realized it was a state issue. They convened a state committee, both Senate and House, to look at those issues. And out of that came some new regulations that we're dealing with today, each and every day. Those regulations are good. They have put us in actually a very good foothold. They allow us to get what's called step increases when we go into a rate case. One of the big issues was the cost of doing a rate case. It's very expensive to do a rate case to raise rates, fees that we need to operate. So they allowed step increases so that we don't have to go in as often, which we just utilized in past January. Future rate cases will depend upon what we need for what funding. One of the issues that always comes up about rate cases is cost. How do we determine what the cost is and the allocation of those costs? And it always usually comes back to the fire charges, the hydrant charges. We proposed 2 years ago, well, 2.5 years ago now, to eliminate those charges. We felt it would be better to put them on the individual customers, which most of our revenue is generated from, which the fire protection also protects. Unfortunately, we didn't get any support for that. It didn't make it through the settlement process with the PUC. They didn't like it either. I know West Warwick didn't vote in favor of it, nor did any of the other fire districts that we service. It's a shame, because I think it would have clarified a number of issues as to what the cost associated with hydrants is. The cost of hydrants is not based on water. Actually, only 0.5% of it is. Most of it is based on the size of the system. Kent County is required, like all water systems, to provide public safety. That increases the size of our mains, tanks, pumpage, so forth, considerably, just for fire flow. we would have an extremely small system, pipe-wise, probably not have many storage tanks, and our pumping would be small if we just serviced the public, not public safety. Most of the cost for hydrant charges is the actual increase in size of those mains and what it costs to operate the pumps just in case the hydrant's turned on. It's a cost of service. The cost of service for hydrants for us is about 1.8 million. So all of our hydrants and what those charges are generates about 1.8 million to us of the 22 million that we need. And most of it, of course, is the volume charge to the customers. But it's something we tried to do. We didn't have any success with it. Whether we will propose it again down the road, it's going to depend upon if the communities and fire districts really want us to look at that again. But that's something this council and future councils should look at if and when we decide to file another rate increase. You also, as a council, have a right to enter as an intervener. Not many people do. An intervener in a case, you provide an attorney, they get all of the documents, they have a right to question, they have a right to review the record, and the record sometimes is very extensive, and the commission listens to it. It's something you should consider in the future. If you don't like our rate cases as they are, we encourage people because we like it as an open process. We actually like the commission setting our rates instead of Kent County setting the rates. By statute, that has to happen, but we could always try to change that statute, but I doubt we would ever be successful. So it's something I think this council and other councils should look at down the road, especially when we file rate cases, because we always get criticized for rate case and raising rates, but not everybody exercises their rights, and they should, because we want it open, we want it transparent. We are a nonprofit entity. We do not make profit. It goes nowhere. It stays in the accounts. We have had cases where the commission has called us back in to look at our records. We have done that, and that's the oversight that we see each and every day. With that, I'll leave it for any questions.
Any questions for Tim? I do have one.
I have one.
Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you for that, that presentation. That was a lot of info. You said you're going to be changing out the meters over the next 2 years.
Yes.
Is that going to be something that, how long is that going to take? Is that going to be a yearly process to get everyone done, or
12
we're going to
months,
get the questions?
12 months for 2 years. That's what we're anticipating right now. It probably will go a little bit longer.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we have some funding deadlines. We've been giving funds for that program, and we store it up in a restricted account each and every month. We have about 3.5 or 3.8 million right at the moment in that account. But we would need probably 3 to 3.2 million to start the program for the first year, and then the remainder of it. I won't know the exact figure till I get the price of the meters. That's the issue right now, and we're not opening that till next week, the RFP.
Okay.
It's
So-
a price proposal we're asking for.
Is it something that you're going to start in one end of town and work your way through the other, like start in Ward 1 and work through Ward 5, or vice versa?
Actually, we don't utilize wards, we utilize routes.
Okay.
The way our system is set up, we have books and routes throughout all of our districts, about 53 routes, I think, it might be 57 routes that we have. We're going to do route by route to try to finish those. The reason for that is we have manual reads and we're going to have automatic reads, and we have probably, hopefully, we won't have to run a single system. We might have to run 2 systems because it may be a different vendor than we're using right now.
Okay.
We're looking for the cheapest that has the most capability for the future. And what I mean by that is there are other methods of reading utilizing collectors that would be on high elevations. There's also cell phone collection that can be utilized. It's a little more expensive. We want to make sure that the technology we put in now would be good for 20 years, whatever method it is for reading. Also, it's not just reading. We also want to collect a lot of data where we can actually plot the usage if needed. Sometimes we get a lot of high bill questions. People have high bills. The new systems have what's called data loggers in them. We can actually plot out, 35 to 90 days of usage and plot out, and you can actually find leaks ahead of time. That's what the goal is down the road. No guarantee, but that's what we're trying to do with some of the new technology. Same meter. It looks almost the same as what you've got in your house right now, except it has a larger black box which has a battery on it.
Okay. Thank you.
question.
Yeah, I have a few more. Do you have any plans this spring to replace any infrastructure here on West Warwick?
Finish up 15B, which is really paving, it's just up by the high school. Hopefully it gets paved before the winter, and it should, if the rain stops ever. The only one is Veteran Square Bridge. We want to get a replacement pipe under that bridge because the state is looking to repave that. We are going to help them in the repaving of it, and they're going to help us with the reconstruction of it. We actually bid that project. It came in $1 million more than what our engineer's estimate was. We threw the bids out. We only had one bidder. And we're going to put it out again this winter. We find out there's not much utility work, so hopefully we can generate better prices. But yes, that's the only one this coming year that we're planning to do. The red dashes on that map, that's future. That's called our IFR 2016. Don't let the dates confuse you. It's just when we designed it. And that's broken up into 3 pieces. But that's about $12 million, that program. So we need to store up the money before we can issue the contracts.
So Tim, when you say those dates, and that's what I was just gonna ask with the infrastructure, 4 years ago, I was given a list from Mr. Boyer of roads that they were gonna be doing in my ward, and I know Councilman Licciardi, right before he got elected, his roads were a mess, still to be desired. Then they got paved. But a lot of roads in my ward did not get touched because we were told that Kent County wasn't gonna be in there. Well, we're 4 years later, and those roads still haven't been touched. Are you behind, or is, you said don't pay attention to those dates, but when we're giving this in 2013 and 14, thinking that they'll be done within a couple of years, and here we are in 18, and they're not touched yet.
Well,
You know, that's,
we're behind on money, yes.
okay.
Not on collections. PUC has given us $6 million a year. A portion of that goes to debt service, the rest of it goes to cash. Prices are pretty high right now. About $350 a foot is what we're paying right now for replacement water line. The complete project, including paving. We just don't have the funds, that's why. We think way out into the future, and that's absolutely true. I've got many more programs than what you see on that map already in my head that we would like to get going, that we would love to have. Public Utilities Commission, even though state law states that we're to provide money for the program that we've established on a 20-year basis, they have overriding determination powers, and the Supreme Court told us when we filed a claim against that they determine it. They didn't give us as much funding as we'd asked for. We asked for $7 million, they gave us $6 million. Believe me, that's plenty for what our needs are right at the moment. But in order to be compliant with the state law, we actually needed more funds than that. The problem is that the commission has to look at what people can absorb in a rate and what programs we're doing. And it's a difficult thing for them to do. I mean, it's easy for me to put a program together and put a rate case together, but it's difficult, you know, to try to balance everything. So they've balanced it, I think, pretty well. They also gave us a cash capital program because about $1.4 million a year that we can set up for just capital program issues. We think in the long run that's going to be beneficial to the community. One, because we don't have to pay interest, we don't have to pay legal fees for bonding. So we think in the long run that's the best bet to do it. Just like the meter program is a cash program. We have to store the money up before we can do the program. And we will be hiring a separate company to install those meters, as well as, of course, the company that manufactures the meters. There'll be 2 separate companies, all under our control, though.
Thank you. Jamie.
Yeah, just one more. Do you see a rate increase for 2019?
No.
Okay, thanks. It was an easy.
More like 2020, I think, will be looked at. We have to go back to the commission at the end of 2019 concerning the meter money. When we reach a certain amount and a limit, they're either going to freeze that or ask us to come in so they can roll it back.
Thank you.
Sometimes what they've done is they put it in a restricted account, and then it offsets whenever we do file a rate increase. But that is already in our order. We have to do that.
Thank you. Mary Beth, any
Thank you.
questions? No. John? Jen? Thank you, Mr.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.
You as
Thank
well.
you, you too. Before we move on, I want to apologize because I was going to do this before the presentations, but again, we just went through an election. I just want to introduce this new council. Councilman Licciardi, who was not up for re-election, but he's still here. Newly elected Mary Beth Williamson from Ward 1. John D'Amico was not up for re-election, so he's here. Myself, Dave Goslin, Town Council Ward 2, and Jay Messier, Town Council Ward 3. So this is your council for at least 2 more years. So, welcome aboard. Councilwoman?
If I may ask the indulgence of the council for a moment, I would actually like to have us, as a council, formally acknowledge and recognize for the record our appreciation and thanks for the 12 years of service that Mr. Angelo Padula gave to the town of West Warwick and the citizens of Ward 1.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on. Thank you.
Minutes of the previous meeting, excuse me, resolved that the minutes of the October 16th, 2018 executive session, October 16th, 2018 town council meeting, and October 30th, 2018 special town council meeting are hereby accepted.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving seconded, discussion. Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay.
I'm in favor of approving the minute. I wasn't here for the October 30th meeting.
Who moved it?
John did.
I wasn't here for the October 30th meeting, so I'm not going to approve those because I wasn't here to discuss those.
Councilwoman
And neither was Mary
is not
Beth.
here for, Williamson is not here for any of them.
So I don't know if you want to split that or.
We could just vote and you can,
Abstain, abstain.
abstain
on the meetings that you weren't in attendance at.
Okay.
so for the record, Councilwoman Williamson will not be voting on this matter. Councilman Licciardi will abstain from October 30th. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agendas, license application. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution. Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
I'll be recusing myself.
So Councilman Messier will be recusing himself from all licenses.
Yeah, all three of them.
Okay.
Something on each one of them.
And just want to make sure the liquor license isn't on this one, is it? No. Okay. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agenda is correspondence. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution. Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Just want to point this out. The consent agenda, this is just our letters or whatever the town receives, so the council has record of it. It doesn't mean we have to act on it or anything. Just want to make sure that you receive these letters and you read them on a timely manner. Any other comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Is this on the correspondence?
Yes.
Okay, so.
You have to just, well, that's why I said,
No, and that's why I was trying to comment.
come on up to the microphone, I'm sorry. I didn't see you raise your hand. So we'll take that vote back and we're back to public comment.
I thought you were gonna go through all the correspondence pieces, that's why I wasn't aware.
No, we don't read over them. We just, the council gets them
Okay,
and they could be on the agenda or added to agenda at a later date, or they're on the agenda tonight for certain things.
right, so our grant application that, for the West Warwick Steam Club, we were just wondering as to the status and when it would be heard then.
Well, we just got the letter tonight,
Okay,
so on correspondence.
no, that's fine, but it was on there, so we came, and when would that be?
Again, I can put it on the agenda, we can talk about it, but letter 12, a letter from Tammy Collins, club founder and leader of the West Warwick Steam Club 4-H, is requesting a contribution of $675 in order to purchase an Arduino kit for each member of the club. For hers are currently
4-Hers.
Hers, okay. That's not how it's spelled here. Are currently learning,
Yeah, they're also
To
called
code-
middle-aged members, and it's middle school-aged
Okay.
children, so yeah, the whole thing's a little
and it's
messed up.
Python using a Linux-based computer called Raspberry Pi
Pi.
computers.
Yep.
They will be working on robotics as they learn to develop and write their own code. The West Warwick STEAM Club 4-H was developed from the West Warwick STEAM Scouts and is an educational club for middle-aged children focusing on science, technology, engineering, art, mathematics in conjunction with the University of Rhode Island. The only thing we do have to look at, and I can put it on the next agenda, but there's also other people that have also requested. We do have so much in the budget, so we don't know if we will have funds available. We can go through that at the next meeting if you'd like.
Okay, I just wasn't sure when it would be heard, so,
Probably in December.
okay,
Thank you.
excellent. Do you have questions regarding the application?
We'll ask that next month.
Okay, excellent,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 2018-28, second reading, sponsored by Councilman Padula and Council President Goslin. An ordinance amending Appendix C, traffic ordinances of the town, traffic ordinances, or code of ordinances of the town of West Warwick, stop sign Harding Street, stop sign Waverly Street, no parking Harris Ave.
Motion. Do I have a motion to move the ordinance?
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Just want to point out, this was voted on first reading as Councilman Badula was here, and it's a stop sign for Harding Street, a stop sign for Waverly Street. And for my ward, no parking Harris Ave. That's why he's still on as a sponsor, because he was the original sponsor for this going back a month and a half ago. Discussion from the council? Public discussion? If you just want to come up to the microphone and just introduce yourself.
I am Michelle Lombardi. I put forth an application for the board, to be on the boards. So is that part of the correspondence?
No.
Part of the
Nope,
meeting?
that's
We're
later
still
on.
going to address it?
Yep, we'll
Okay,
address that
great.
later on.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. So again, we're back on the ordinance for no parking, stop sign on Harding Street, stop sign on Waverly, and no parking on Harris. Anybody here on that matter? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Cancellation of taxes. Resolved that the attached cancellation in the amount of $3,592.50 presented to the tax collector for approval of the town council in accordance with Article 25, Section 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinances is hereby approved. The original list is on file in the office of the tax collector.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Cancellation of, additions and cancellations of taxes. Okay, yes,
Correct.
sorry. It's weird. Resolved that the attached additions in the amount of $12,730.84 and cancellations in the amount of $3,882.86 presented to the tax assessor for approval of the town council in accordance with Article 25, Section 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinances is hereby approved. The original list is on file in the office of the tax assessor.
I'll move the resolution.
A second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Tax assessor, CAMA software upgrade. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the purchase and installation of an upgrade to the tax assessor's CAMA software in the amount of $15,000. This is sole source item from Northeast Reval Group LLC, which is conducting the town's revaluation. The funding source is account L 10002024 tax sale liability account.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Sal, why don't you come up and explain this?
Sal Sakosha, tax assessor for town of West Warwick. We have a chance to have this upgrade installed while we're doing a revaluation process, which will actually save the town money, because if we waited another year, there'd be an additional expense with the conversion over, plus having to make sure all of the new numbers we converted over, they have a an extra one. When we do it during the revaluation, they're able to get it into the system. This was something that was in between when Christine had left last year and I had come in, and we weren't able to get it into the budget on time. They were willing to let us go. However, Ernie and Christine found a funding source for us.
What improvements or upgrades will be done with this software?
It's a new format that's moving away from the background. I don't know if the old one was Firefox or not. The new one is getting away from that. In the package that was there were some highlights. After that, I've seen it a couple of times that a few user groups had it. It does make the system lot easier for the user to go through, and there's some things that just,
When you say
it was
user,
old.
when you're saying user, does that mean the
We're
general
a
public?
user in-
Or, like, when I go on the assessor's website and start looking up my property, it'll make it easier for me?
That'll make it a little easier
How
on
about-
that end,
How
too.
about the employees? Is it-
It make it easier on the employees also. The old system was, I believe, over almost 5 years old. And with technology, that's, that's like 100 years in dog years.
Any questions for Sal?
So where was the funding found? As far as the 15,000?
It's in the resolution.
Was it in the resolution? Did I miss it?
It's in the tax sale fees that we collect. We had extra from last year.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Any other questions for Sal? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Animal control facility fencing pen renovation project. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the purchase and installation of new fencing for the interior and exterior animal pens at the animal control facility. The purchase will be made through the United Fence and Construction Corporation's bid through the State of Rhode Island Master Pricing Agreement and will be funded from the following source. Residual 2018 Centennial Funds, $8,320. Total expenditure, $8,320.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Good evening, Mark Knott, Interim Chief of Police. One of our many ongoing projects to restore the animal shelter to full functionality that we've identified, this one in particular is over the threshold that requires council approval. So after seeking numerous bids, we finally were able to get one off a state master pricing list that was substantially less than the previous bids we went out for. So I'm requesting permission to do that project, and we actually hope to have it scheduled for next week.
Any questions for the chief?
This is a long time in the making. This is the, excuse me, this is the money that's coming from the $15,000 reallocation from the Centennial, correct?
Correct.
And actually, at the time, 15,000 was actually a little less than, didn't think it was gonna cover it.
Yeah.
So this is actually a good job.
Right, so it looks like we'll be able to use, of the 5 projects we're looking to do, 3.8 of them are gonna be able to be finished with that money. The rest will use capital funds.
That's great.
Good job. Any questions for the chief? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
An agreement between the town of West Warwick and the West Warwick Angels Caring for Animals, Inc. Resolved that the town council authorizes and directs the town manager to sign the attached agreement between the town of West Warwick and the West Warwick Angels Caring for Animals, Inc. to provide services to the town of West Warwick's animal shelter.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion?
So this is, basically an agreement between the town and the Angels Caring for Animals, just to basically provide services for the shelter, the overall care of the animals to some degree, veterinary services. This is also
Saves on the
a long time in
taxpayers.
making.
Yeah, saves on the taxpayers.
Absolutely.
Also sets an agreement, and that way there we know where we stand and where they stand. And I think over the past 6 to 8 months, this is actually a long time coming. Thank you for everybody who worked on this to get it straightened out. And from what I'm hearing good reports down in the animal shelter, so that's excellent news also. Any other questions?
I just have one. I mean, I took the stance the last couple of years. I like the agreement, but again, I think we should, is there any long-term thoughts to taking the chief of police and letting him be the chief of police and not overseeing the animal shelter?
Again, that's something that's contractual, and that's something that's totally different at this point, so we can discuss that at a later date.
All right.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Out of curiosity,
Just
what
state your
is
name
the,
for the record.
Nadine Alves? Out of curiosity, what exactly is the agreement entail? What are they going to be doing for the West Warwick Animal Shelter?
So, if I read all, this is...
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, Councilman D'Amico actually said it. They provide a lot of services. They also supply or pay for veterinary services. At the time, if there was no agreement in place, the town would be responsible for those veterinary costs. And they help us with feeding of animals, care of animals, and they'll still be doing that also, in a nutshell.
So,
If there's something if you want to add, if you want to just come up to the mic, but I think that's pretty much.
sure.
They're actually here.
Are
so-
they pretty much supplementing the cost from a volunteer perspective?
She can explain that.
Okay, thank you.
Just state your name.
Joan Levitt. We pay for veterinary care, we pay for special food, we pay for medications, we pay for anything over that the town can't afford to pay for all the animals that are in the shelter. We have volunteers that also do all the fundraising and get all the money. Over the past few years, about 10 years, we've spent over $100,000 paying for the animals of the shelter. So we do a lot of work up there.
That's
So
the
this will be,
nutshell.
in a nutshell, yes. And then we'll be giving the town a report on what we do and what we spend. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mohawk lift and rolling jack. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the purchase of a Mohawk lift for $15,642.15 and a rolling jack for $5,135.35 for a total of $20,775.50. The purchase will be made through Mohawk Resources Ltd's bid through the state of Rhode Island Master Pricing Agreement number 548 and will be funded from the FY19 capital budget.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Dave?
Good evening, Dave Picozzi, Department of Public Works. This lift is needed in our automotive garage and will replace a lift that was put out of service around a year ago.
Any questions for Dave on that? Any public comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mobile radios and control station, Department of Public Works resolved that the town council hereby approves the purchase of mobile radios and control station for the Department of Public Works in the amount of $10,000.19. The purchase will be made through Comtronics Corporation's bid through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Purchasing Agreement ITT 57. Funding will come from the FY19 capital budget.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Dave?
Currently, our fleet in the highway department is not radio dispatch, so communication isn't really that good. So what I want to do is put radios in all our trucks. We're also going to purchase 10 handheld radios for snowplow operations to give to the private contractors. So it'll make the operation so much more efficient.
What are they doing, like now?
They use cell phones right
Yeah,
now,
it's not-
and,
yeah,
and
it's not
actually
good.
they use their own cell phones, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any questions for Dave on that? Thank you, Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Town council acting as a liquor commission. Alcoholic beverages license renewal. Resolved that the attached alcoholic beverage license renewal having been advertised in accordance with the law for hearing on this date, no remonstrance or objectors present, the same is hereby approved, subject to all inspections being completed, health department approval, all taxes being paid, and a letter of good standing being received.
Move the resolution.
Second. I'm going to recuse myself.
Moved and seconded.
And actually, I need to recuse myself on 4 West Clubhouse Inc. I don't know if you want to pull that out and vote separately, or...
So we can vote on the 4 West Clubhouse separately. So right now, Councilman Messier recused himself. So right now, we'll vote on everything but 4 West, and then we can vote on 4 West. Does anybody have a problem with that? Any public comment? So right now, we're voting on everything but 4 West. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now we're voting on 4 West, and we have 2 council people recusing themselves. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. You have to go too far. Thank you.
Town council acting as the town council. Town council meeting scheduled for 2019. The town council will meet on the first Tuesday of each month, except as noted at 7 p.m. and special meetings will be held in accordance with Article 4, Section 404 of the Town of West Warwick Town Charter. The town council may reschedule or add meetings as needed.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. Just to clarify, everybody's probably asking why there isn't 2 on here. This is, again, for the first meeting. The second one's actually the sewer commission, so that's why those dates are not on here. It's on the sewer commission meeting side of it. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Claims. The town council hereby denies or approves the following claims against the town.
Move the resolution.
I'm going to second.
Moved and seconded. Just want to go over, we have 1 claim here reviewed for the Creighton claim. There was a major pothole at the location of New London Turnpike. Temporary patch washed out, but has been rectified. We were notified and assessed the issue. The problem has been rectified. There was a police report, and there was not 3 quotes. They attached a claim. There was only 1. I suggest the claims committee pay the claim in the amount of $300 for the damages. This is the max for the maximum recovery. Any questions on that? Any public comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Reports. Town managers report.
Good evening. 2 items to discuss tonight. One is next, the organizational review and business practice study that was conducted to review the operations of the Department of Public Works, Recreation, and Civic Center is being finalized. It will be completed next week, and by the end of next week, will be forwarded to the Town Council for your review. After your review, we'll determine whether or not a meeting will be scheduled, to go over the results with the consultant and the Director of Public Works. So that will be coming by the end of next week. The other item I want to mention is that on Friday morning, October 26th, the fire department conducted a dedication of a new fire engine. And that ceremony took place at Station 4 on Cohasset Avenue. It was very well attended. The Senators Reid and Whitehouse were there. Representative Serpa was there. Councilman Licciardi addressed the gathering. And Councilman Messier was there with his trusty camera recording the event. Thank you very much. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is for 2 reasons. One is that the engine Engine 3 was very expensive, $545,000. And $337,000 that was funded through a FEMA grant. And again, that's a tremendous savings of the taxpayers. So for a cost of $207,000, we received a state-of-the-art engine that cost $545,000. And through the efforts of retired Chief Barris, the firefighters who worked on the grant, our federal legislators who certainly helped for the award of the grant, it was a very good team effort that shows on the coordination. The result was a savings of the taxpayers of over $300,000 and a new frontline piece of equipment. Hopefully we'll be able to continue that relationship between our legislators, legislative contingent, our fire department, as we look to replace future pieces of equipment. I believe a ladder truck is next to be scheduled for replacement. And those are, probably will be $1 million item for that purchase of that equipment. The other reason why I wanted to mention it, also on that date, there was a recognition for Battalion Chief Frank Parenti Jr. He was recognized for 42 years of service to the West Warwick Fire Department. He was retiring, and actually that was his last day in the office on the job, and so it was fitting that he was also recognized for his 42 years of service, and I believe his father had at least 40 years of service as well. So between the two, over 42 years of service, and I'm not sure if there's any younger Parentis around, but certainly it is a family service.
Excellent work ethic.
Exactly, 42 years of service. That tenure is going to be very hard to beat in the future coming up. But I wanted to make that recognition to him for that years of service, and it was coincidental that the last day, his last day was the ceremony, so he did receive a proclamation from Senator Reed on behalf of, for his services. So I wanted to make sure that there was an acknowledgement of that. And that concludes my report.
Okay, I have one question. Can we get an update of where we're at for the appointing a permanent police chief?
Yes, the 3 finalists, I've interviewed them, and I anticipate I will have a recommendation to the council and one of the meetings in December.
Any other questions for the town manager? Thank you, Ernie.
Finance report?
Good evening, councilors. Before you have the October 2018 monthly finance summary. Collections are ahead of target, and mostly because a lot of people pay the first quarter in full, and then it kind of levels off as we get towards the third and fourth quarter. Expenses are trending below what we expect. There's one line that we want to watch a little closely, and that's severance pay. Even though we bumped it up this year, it's almost 2/3 gone due to retirements. The audit is on target and expected to be completed by just December 31st. And I am rocking and rolling on the 2020 budget. So the personnel supplement's almost all done, and that's the biggest chunk of it.
Any questions for Kristen? Thank you.
Sure, if we got one from the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just.
You just have to go up to the mic.
Another question of curiosity, wondering who's doing the audit? Is it a third-party audit?
We have a 3-year bid with Markham Associates, and they do the audit.
So yes,
Okay.
it's a third party.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Resignation from the West Warwick Board of Technology Committee. Resolved that the town council hereby acknowledges the resignation of Derek Asatrian of the West Warwick Board of Technology for the town of West Warwick.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion.
I just wanted to publicly thank Derek for his service on the committee and just give everyone a little bit of background. This is a committee that was formed several years ago. It was pretty much dormant for a period of several years. I believe the last meeting they had was in 2005, and we've just put the committee back together again and started having meetings, I believe, somewhere around June of this year. It's moving along, but we do need additional members, so if anyone in the public is a techie or has experience in technology, we would certainly welcome applications.
Any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If we could just send him a thank you letter also, thanking him. He was one of the first ones to come onto that committee that when Councilman Giroux was pushing to get somebody.
We have 3. Do we have 3 now? Because Chris Messier left, so is that what we're
I don't
doing?
think he's given him the,
Well, he hasn't formally.
he hasn't given his
He
resignation yet.
just sent the email, okay. But once he does, we'll be down to 3, correct?
Correct.
Resignation from the West Warwick Pension Board. Resolved that the town council hereby acknowledges the resignation of Edward A. Fonseca of the West Warwick Pension Board for the town of West Warwick.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. I'm not sure why, I haven't had a chance to really speak to Eddie, but I'm sure a lot of it has to do with busyness. But he's been on there a couple of years now. He's done a good job. He's always, whenever I called him and asked him questions, he was able to answer any questions. He always represented the town well on the board. So again, if we can send him a thank you letter and thank him for his service.
Appointment.
I haven't taken a vote yet.
Oh,
Any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Appointment for the West Warwick Zoning Board of Review. Resolved that the town council hereby
Missed one.
appoints the following.
You missed one. You missed two. Appointment for the Library Board of Trustees and then the Housing Authority before the zoning,
Hold on.
according to the agenda.
Appointment for the Board of Trustees, West Warwick Public Library. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the Board of Trustees, the West Warwick Public Library Board for the town of West Warwick, with a term to expire on 2019.
I'll move the resolution for discussion.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. The director of the library is actually here, and he had a conversation with me last week. If you want to just come on up. Is Cheryl or James here? I don't see either one.
Can I just interject real quick?
Yep.
We have a lot of appointments coming up, I see, and some resignations, but people are going, they want to serve on a board, which is great. I think the more people we have, the better, that want to be involved with the town. Should we make it a requirement for, we have their application. I mean, we don't know who these people are. Should we require they at least attend the meeting?
Well, that's
Where they're required,
That's
where they want to be appointed?
Yeah.
We're going to appoint them, but there's nobody here to appoint.
Well, that's one thing, we've talked about that in the past. That's up to them if they want to show up. We're not going to force them to show up. But I will say that a couple people on this list that I was unable to speak to in the past week because of everything that's going on between election, my daughter's sweet 16 birthday, swearing in a council meeting tonight. So it got kind of hectic, and tree lightings, getting prepared for those. So as I go down, I'm gonna talk about people I was unable to either speak to on the phone or whatever. But I make it a point usually to either speak to the individual, or if I do know the person, you know, I don't have to speak to them, but I understand what they want to do. But I know on a couple of these, I've reached out to everybody except for one. And then with the Library Board of Trustees, the director reached out and he and I had a conversation, and they actually interviewed these two individuals on their behalf, and he's coming back with a recommendation, and that's why he's here tonight. So, I mean, it could be your personal preference. You can vote no if they're not here. That's up to you. But I mean, I've asked the people that I've interviewed tonight. They're on the agenda if they want to come. And unfortunately, there's one individual, and I apologize, I didn't get to speak to over the past week. And I know she's here tonight, and she can speak, and maybe we can appoint tonight to her too. But, Mr. Director, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good.
So, I know you talked to me about two individuals, and I think it was James Mitchell.
Yes.
That the board interviewed. They interviewed both these individuals, and they would like to see James Mitchell on the board.
Yes, they interviewed both individuals on, well, one on October 30th, and one was a little later in that week.
Yeah.
And they decided on Mr. Mitchell.
Okay. Does anybody have any problems with me moving the name of James Mitchell?
That's who you
Yes.
decide, then that's.
Yes.
That's what the Library Board of Trustees, they interviewed.
He has a very impressive application. I mean,
It was
BA,
not an...
MA, PhD, Cornell University.
I'd like to say it wasn't an easy decision for the board. Both individuals
Yeah,
had...
they both have very good resumes. So I move the name of James Mitchell on recommendation of the Director of the Library.
I'll second.
Any other comment?
Thank you.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Appointment for the West Warwick Housing Authority. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the West Warwick Housing Authority for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire 11/20/23.
I'll move the name of Thomas Zampa.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Tom is here tonight. Tom's been on the board for many years now. Again, he represents, he lives in my ward. I call him all the time to find out what's going on there. I do get complaints every once in a while at Clyde Towers. I'm able to get answers very quickly. He's very responsive. Sometimes I'm a little less responsive to him. I apologize. I know he calls me on occasion, but again, Tom's always been respectful, works well with the council, and has always been there when I needed him. So I third that if I can. Any other comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Tom. Congratulations.
Appointment for the West Warwick Zoning Board of Review. Resolves that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the...
This was previously tabled. You didn't read that portion, so you just gotta make sure.
I will, okay. To serve as a member of the West Warwick Zoning Board of Review for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire 7/20/20. This item was previously tabled.
Motion to take it off.
Yeah, motion to take it off the table.
A second?
All in favor to take it off the table?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I move the name of Jeffrey Hunter.
A second?
Move second.
I had the opportunity to meet with Jeff, extremely impressive. I did serve on the zoning board, so I have a good sense of what the qualifications should be. Jeff comes to us with a degree in construction technology. He has years of experience as a plumber. He would certainly fit the bill, and he would certainly sit and serve well on the zoning board as an alternate.
Any other discussion? He's here tonight. He's here, yeah, I know he's here. I met with Jeffrey also. Had a brief discussion with him, and I agree with you, Councilman. I think he'll be a good fit on there. Any other comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations, Jeff.
Appointment of an alternate member of the West Warwick Zoning Board of Review previously tabled. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as an alternate member of the West Warwick Zoning Board of Review for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire 7/20/21.
I'll move the name
No,
of Derek Reed.
You gotta take it off the table first.
Make a motion to take it off the table?
Second.
Moving seconded. All in favor to take it off the table?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I'll move the name of Derek Reed. I think Derek has the experience, comes to council meetings.
There was no second. We can't discuss it. I move the name of Amy Ortiz.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Amy is a paralegal. She has law background. I think she'd be a good fit on this board. I've another constituent of mine that I've worked close with, and I think she'd be a good fit on this board.
I also have met with Amy, also very impressed. I think her legal background will also serve her well on the zoning board.
Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
It's unanimous?
No.
Amy Ortiz?
No, I didn't vote.
You didn't
You
vote.
abstained? Appointment to the West Warwick Pension Board. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the West Warwick Pension Board for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire 11/18/2020.
Can I make a motion for discussion?
I'll second.
Michelle, I apologize. I think you actually are on my answer machine. I think it was you who called me. But if you want to just come up and state who you are, and because I've never met you, and I didn't get a chance to call you over the past week. I got this Thursday, and it's just very hectic.
Okay.
So if you just want to explain, you got a great resume. I just want to hear what.
Michelle Lombardi, from Providence Street. I submitted applications for two boards, one which was the pension board and one which it was the zoning board. I do have a background in accounting, and I do have a background in auditing, and IRS compliance regulations. I didn't, I was told this is the way the procedure goes to fill the
Yeah.
applications and then come to the meeting. So here I am.
So what pension experience do you have?
Well, I don't have pension experience. I've worked for City of Providence for 20 years. I am a pension recipient, but as far as, an accounting and math background, I definitely have that, and taxation.
I'd like to make a motion to table the application. I think that I'd like the opportunity to sit and meet with Michelle, get to know her better. I think personally, moving forward, I want to feel comfortable with the appointments. I think that we should take the time to either speak to people, get some sort of reference. So that's just my feeling on that.
I have a motion to table.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Michelle, we'll
We'll
contact
reach out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion action, no parking sign on Washington Street between Walnut and Nolan, sponsored by Councilman Messier.
So recently came to my attention that some no parking, this is within the last couple of months, some no parking signs were put up on Washington Street in between Walnut and Nolan Street. And it wasn't on the behalf of the town council. And I guess if Major Knott maybe wants to come up and discuss this a little bit. This is gonna go before the traffic committee, but I know since you're here, I know you wanna discuss this a little bit. Maybe you can give a little bit of background of when I reached out to you. You found out some information from 1989 was when they were initially, we sent it to the DOT, correct?
Correct. So like Councilman Messier said, he had noticed, or a constituent had noticed some signs were recently erected and questioned it. I finally was able to make contact with a new representative from Rhode Island Department of Transportation who did some research for me and reported that those signs were approved by the State Traffic Commission back in 1989, then at the request of then Police Chief Anthony Ventura, at the request of a resident in that neighborhood who was a victim of a car crash herself and a second crash of a family member due to the visibility in that area. Cars parked on that side of the street. If there was four in a row with the crest of the hill there, it caused a line of sight issue. So the State Traffic Commission approved it based on that. The signs were removed over the years for whatever reason, being hit, sidewalks being redone, but when the state redid the crosswalk to make it ADA compliant in that area over the past year, they redid the signs that had been approved forever. So there probably are a few more that have popped up that were missing on state roads over the last few years, but that is up. And now if they're the only ones that have the authority to do that, if our council wants the recommendation to go to our local traffic commission, they can make that request back to the state traffic commission to review that.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea because we don't know what the reason was from that accident in 1989, and I don't know if issues have changed since then. So I think it's the best to have it go before our traffic commission.
What are the issues? I'd like to hear from the constituent. I know
Yeah,
she
sure,
reached
yeah,
out.
yeah,
I did reach out.
yeah.
I spoke
Thank
to her
you.
for a few minutes.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. So, all fairness, I live on 294 Washington Street. That particular location's literally right adjacent to my driveway, and we have been at the premises for over 13 and a half years and parking in that specific location. So I know there's a little, I'm trying to think of the political correct word to say, but sometimes neighbors don't always get along, and I feel like we sort of got caught in the midst of some type of crossfire where, people complain on each other, and or so, I know that property has also changed hands. Somebody recently sold it to somebody else, so I don't know what the conflict was, but we were always parking there on a regular basis, and I have to express a little bit dissent about the process. I was actually had a police officer knock on my door at 8:30 at night to just tell me to move the car. I had no notice over the changes with the sign being put up that day, which kind of concerned me because, you know, we were put on notice of another project in the town, which really didn't have any impact on me, the Shippey project. So from a notice perspective, it didn't seem very fair that someone would at least put me on notice and explain the circumstances of why, after 13 and a half years, I can no longer park there. Secondly, you know, things happen, so you try to just kind of roll with it. Now it's kind of creating some kind of bottleneck or domino effect that I actually have had situations where my son would come home because we both, you know, live on the premises and have always lived on the premises. He'll come home, he has to actually literally park right in front of my driveway and block me from leaving the premises because now you've got renters on the side of me and then renters on the other side of me, and their visitors and their tenants are parking right literally in front of my house. And my frontage isn't that very big to begin with. There's also a section that's usually designated for like fire trucks to come in an event of emergency because of the multi-unit that's right next door to me. So it's actually starting to infringe upon my ability to park right in front of my house, and it kind of, in all fairness, wanted to come here, express my concerns, and raise the fact that I know public safety is the foremost important thing, but the fact that there are nobody parking in that location now, people are speeding even more down the street, accidents have increased, and I would also like to say that while you know, the intent is to mitigate risk associated with the fact that there were increased car accidents. Motorists do have a duty to exercise due care when operating their motor vehicles. And we have had quite a bit of accidents in the area in that location and to the other side of me. I really don't think that, you know, making that whole strip right there, which is the only part of Washington Street that's being restricted, and on that one side, not both sides, is the solution.
And just to clarify, there's no crosswalk in that particular area.
No,
either.
there is not.
And it's not near a corner.
Nor is it near a fire hydrant.
Who put the signs up, the state or the town?
I believe this.
State road.
Yeah.
So the state did that, all right.
So I did contact the state, and I was told that they fully empower the town to manage what's going on in that location.
Again, so Councilman Messier put it on the traffic commission,
Yeah.
so we'll have an update.
Yeah, so they'll look into it, and then I'll message you back and let you know what the finding was. But thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Upcoming appointments, Sewer Use Appeals Board, alternate member with a term to expire 10/2021. West Warwick Public Library Trustees, one term to expire 2/2019. Board of Tenant Affairs, one term to expire 4/2020. Clyde Towers. Zoning Board of Review, one term to expire 7/2020, and alternate member to expire 7/2020. Juvenile Hearing Board, one term to expire 12/2018. Pension Board, one term to expire 11/18/2020, one term to expire 11/18/2022. West Warwick Housing Authority, one 5-year term. Technology Committee, Ward 1, term to expire 12/31/18. Ward 2, term to expire 12/31/18. Ward 3, term to expire 12/31/18. Ward 4, term to expire 12/31/18. Ward 5, term to expire 12/31/18. Public comment? Comments will only be addressed to the town council. We'll take them under advisement. When addressing the town council, please state your name and address. Please conduct yourself in an orderly and respectful fashion. The comments of citizens assessing this portion of our meeting are neither adopted nor endorsed by this body, but heard as requested.
Anything from the council? Thank you. Ms. Tevasevich?
Good evening. Karen Tarasevich, Superintendent of Schools, the West Warwick School Department. I'd first like to congratulate the council on your wins in the recent election. And we've been fortunate in the last several years to have a productive collaborative partnership with the town council. And on behalf of the school department and the school committee, I look forward to continuing and renewing that partnership from this point on, and in a few years to come, some more good work for the town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You as well.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have a question. This evening, Councilman Messier recused himself on a couple of items. I'm just curious as to why you would recuse yourself on those items. I can understand Ms. Williamson with the golf course. I understand, but why would you recuse yourself from those two items this evening?
Well, several of them have businesses which I promote and do business with, so I recuse myself.
I see. If we go back to February 6th, 2018.
Hold on.
Excuse me. We go back to February 6th, 2018, at 1 hour, 5 minutes, 5 seconds into the meeting, you were questioned for the same exact thing, and you said on the record that you have already checked with the ethics board and you have it approved.
That was a different topic.
No, it's the same topic. It was a recusal because of a
He
licensing.
recused himself from something, and he didn't recuse himself from something. That's a different topic. So if you have a complaint, you can file that with the Ethics Commission.
It's not a complaint, it's a question.
Well, again.
Okay, then you got
I can answer this quick. That was a former business that I did business with. These are businesses that I currently do business with. Simple as that.
But that was, you were doing business with them at the time. That was the question.
That is incorrect.
That was the question that was asked that night, and you said you had an approval from the ethics board. Could you provide that for me, please?
I had a discussion about that particular incident.
No, you have an approval from the ethics board.
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. If you'd like to file a complaint with the ethics board, that's fine.
I would like you to go back and look at the tape.
Mr. Oates.
At
Mr.
1
Oates,
hour,
that's enough.
5
Thank
minutes.
You have a good night.
1 hour and
Mr.
5 minutes
Oates.
into the meeting. Is this public comment?
It's public comment, but this is, I'm sorry, but this is irrelevant. You have a complaint, you can
It's
file
not
it with the
irrelevant.
ethics. Yes, it is. You can file with the Ethics Commission. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, that's exactly what we'll have to do. I'll have to do a few of them.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to it.
Alan Palazzo, 5 Robin Lane, West Warwick, and I understand with regard to taxes, I almost brought it up then, we're having a reevaluation this year, right? And I have a couple of questions. I saw a letter to the editor in the Times, I'm not sure the exact date, Mr. Oates had put it in, and it had piqued my interest, so I went into taxes and looked at them, and I used the town database, public information, and public officials. 2 people on my list, I have a list of 15 names, Mr. Licciardi and Mr. Goslin. From when you purchased your property until 2018, you had a significant increase, and I'm assuming...
So before you even go into that, I will tell you my situation. And I know Mr. Oates used my situation. Does he know when my house was built? Did he know when it was 100% tax evaluated? No. So as he's... No, he used mine in his article, it's my house, as an example. My house was starting to be built in 2003. Foundation went in 2004. So the foundation sat for 3 years. So I was taxed on only a foundation. And then in 2010...
You're missing my point,
No,
Mr.
but I
Goslin.
want to clarify something.
I understand that.
All right.
My point being made was that both yourself and Mr. Licciardi had significant increases. And I assumed that that was based on you having had major work done. Throughout the town, I looked at former town council people. Mr. Kelsey's here tonight. Mr. Giroux isn't. But I went through houses in various wards and looked at the increases. Out of the 12 houses, average, not including you two, the increase was about $1,750. They ranged anywhere from $1,100 to $1,800. Mr. D'Amico almost $2,000 over a 20-year period. But the one figure that stood out and jumped out at me was Mr. Williamson's. His house had a total increase of $538, which is 1/3 the average. And I find that, rather interesting. And considering we're going to have an evaluation, I went some houses around me. I looked at them, and they're in the Hurt Locker, and
So,
I'm just questioning this figure, and I would ask that you look at
I
this.
can tell you can question the tax assessor. I'm sorry he left. I wish this was on the agenda. If I knew this, I would ask him to stay to answer these questions. Again, it's a third-party assessor.
I understand that, and this is my point, that this is public information. Anybody in the town can go on the database and look up either by owner or property location. And I find it astounding that...
President, what I would recommend is we consider Mr. Palazzo's comments, and that a meeting be set up with the assessor, and then it be discussed
And the
at a
evaluator.
later time.
Well, again, I want to point out, there are properties in this town that are paying less taxes than they were.
Oh, I agree, but
And
over a
again,
20-year period...
So, again, the assessor and the third-party assessor, these are questions for the tax assessor. So if you want to bring it to them, you can.
No problem, because I'm looking at a half-acre property and $538 over 20 years. I think everybody out here would needs to go back and check theirs and see how it compares. I said, Mr. D'Amico went up almost $2,000.
And again,
So-
as you get your revaluation, it tells you if you disagree with it, you have the right to appeal, and you can appeal.
And that I'm not arguing.
No, I'm giving that out for information.
Right. My point is, and it's been commented many times in this chamber, perception is everything. And I can give you a copy of this sheet. That figure jumps out. As I said, perception is everything.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Peter Kelsey, 260 East Greenwich Avenue, former 3-term council member. First, I'd like to congratulate the town council, specifically the newest member, David, on his reelection. It's great to see West Warwick using the word future again. Very specific. I'd like to congratulate outgoing Chief Barrett. Job well done, saving the town $200,000 or $300,000 again. I'd like to welcome in the new fire chief, who I've had the pleasure of having a cup of coffee with. I'd just like to bring up one particular subject matter. I also serve on the zoning board. What I'm about to mention is not an issue being present, coming up to the zoning board within the near future. But I was made aware of a situation where a for-profit company is looking to acquire state property from the DOT on the intersections of Route 2 and Route 3. More specifically, the island and the turning lane coming from Queeset Avenue east to Route 2, Route 3 to Route 2, along that long curve that merges onto Route 2. That particular issue is not in front of zoning. There is another issue regarding, well, I'm not even going to say what it involves. I did have some conversation with our town planner, Mark Carullo. Carullo, I'm sorry, Mark Carullo, thinking of a former governor. I did have some conversation of this particular matter with Ward 5 Town Councilman John D'Amico, also with our solicitor on the Planning and Zoning Boards, Al DeFiore. I would like to ask the council to instruct our town manager and also to ask Mark to get into more of the information to try and get ahead of this. And looking back at probably the last 30 or 40 years, that intersection, most probably, both on the land coming where it's Pep Boys, used to be Jennings Brothers, those are mirrored intersections or mirrored merging lanes from Route 2 onto Route 3 heading west and Route 3 onto Route 2 heading south. if you look at it, those emerging lanes, they're mirrored. That land, I'd say 100% probability that that land was taken by eminent domain. The traffic flow on that would need a tremendous research and get the traffic numbers to see what the ramifications of that
We could
lane.
potentially have backups all the way
You
down
could
Queenston Avenue,
potentially have
Church Avenue.
backups, and then more importantly, this is a specific item that would affect me personally and Ward 5 more directly, but people will eventually look for a different way to go south. And there's the two ways that they would go would be New London Turnpike and more appropriately, East Greenwich Avenue, which I live on. East Greenwich Avenue has long been a shortcut. So the more that you restrict a major state highway that this for-profit company is looking to do to gain the land for their particular use, the more that happens, the more you're going to have backup on Route 3, and the more you're going to have people taking a shorter route on New London Turnpike and East Greenwich Avenue. But to go backwards, when that land was designated, again, probably through eminent domain, to go backwards 40, 50 years and say that it's no longer needed is ludicrous. So I implore that you have your town manager and your town planner and solicitor or anyone else that we can, if this is what's being looked at, and I strongly suggest that we get ahead of it so that the town of West Warwick can protect itself and protect the people in West Warwick that use that intersection.
So Peter, I'm not going to get into this. I got to show this to the council. I just received this tonight. I haven't had a chance to go over it. But it looks like Growth Point, Southern Rhode Island, from West Warwick, Warwick, East Greenwich, it's all Route 2 and growth on that street and what they plan on doing. And again, I haven't gone through this, and I'm going to give this to the town manager to go through with the town planner, and then they can bring this back to the council. But I think this is part of what you're talking about.
Have you looked specifically on that?
I
road?
just got this tonight, all this.
If I could, after the meeting, I'd love to take a look at it.
I could show you in the back, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that forward, Mr. Kelsey.
Thank you.
Any other comment?
Eric Reed, 62 Andrews Avenue. Just a question. The last meeting, you guys discussed the zoning board position. It was my understanding that you tabled it because of, from my position, pending litigation. Since then, you guys voted on a settlement, which means there's no pending litigation.
Still pending, thank you.
Hmm?
Still pending as of today.
Okay. My other question is, you all had your opinions on who gets it, who's did what, and whose resumes you reviewed. You have one councilman that started to speak up.
You didn't have a second.
It doesn't matter.
Can't discuss it if you don't
But
have a
David,
second.
this goes back to what we discussed last Sunday. I told you this was gonna happen. You were gonna go 4 across and forget the
No,
X.
that's not what he did
Oh.
not have a second. That's the rules. If I don't have a second, I can't speak on it.
So how does he get a second? He don't get a second, but he gets a second, he don't get a
Derek,
second.
let's face it, you're not coming on the board today.
I don't want it right now,
Thank you.
to be quite frankly. But what I do wanna know is on a zoning planning basis, oh, and Mr. Williamson, welcome back, but the dust hasn't settled yet, is the Shippey Avenue project. How do we let a $1 million project go and get started when there's no easement languages for people that have pre-existing pipes in their yards, and there's no easement deeds to go with them? And the yards that have piping going through them, and the yards that are proposed to have piping go through them, don't have any pre-land engineering before a hole is dug. How does that happen? And who's gonna pay Cardi for the time that they couldn't dig and work that project because of this? And I'm not just talking about one property, there's multiple properties.
Again, if you have some specific property you're
Peak Trail.
referring to,
Peak Trail.
then we can look at
That's
the
one.
property and give you an answer.
Okay. We'll go
Again,
with Peak
come
Trails.
in and ask a
So-
question at this time
Mr.
and
Zimmerlinski?
expect a response.
You have a meeting with the Cottrells, if I'm correct?
I'm not asking on his behalf. I'm
So-
asking as a
But
the
again,
project.
he doesn't have to answer to you on Pete Cottrell's
Well,
property.
he wanted to know an example.
So,
I'll give you an example.
you know, well, he has a meeting with Mr. Cottrell,
Okay,
so I
that's
don't
fine.
think he should be responding on Mr. Cottrell's matter when he's having a meeting with them.
Okay.
Mr. Cottrell, we had a meeting. He called to cancel it, and I would expect we'll have it rescheduled.
That's what I expected, see.
Any other public comment? Hearing none?
Motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, safe holiday. The Phoenix tree lighting is still on Thanksgiving night, 6 p.m. The festivities start. Santa Claus will arrive at 7. Monday night is also the Arctic tree lighting. The festivities start very early there, I think at 4:30.
4:30, yep, there's a lot of performances.
So I just want to point out those two big events coming to West Warwick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Can you shut those mics off or anything? Running it back and shut
I honestly cannot say. Unless they're in the back shot more, no, they're live.
Sorry.